we are on to album number 4. Matt, why don't you go ahead and run the numbers for us, and then go ahead and take us into the segment as well.
Yeah, let's get on a rocket to Russia with the Ramones. Coming in at number 137 in the 1970s on Best Ever Albums, the Ramones, Rocket to Russia. It's number 19 in 1977, number 571 of all time. And this one actually was in Rolling Stone. It's number 385 on their most recent Top 500 list. It's the Ramones' second highest rated album behind their self-titled debut, Ramones, which we're going to be covering soon. Josh, you're covering them, right? In the full bio.
Am I? I can't look ahead that far.
Yes,
I am.
Yeah.
Later than you think, because Josh is still in like 1975. Okay. And so I think it's like the third to last episode. So maybe a month from now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're three full length episodes, regular episodes from
okay.
now.
So we're going to go to the future a little bit and cover their second album.
Okay.
So I didn't really know this record. I do know their first record. I do have their self-titled album. This one I have the fewest notes on. This is it's a Ramones album, right? It's like
I struggled too.
It's like, and I don't. It's just like, what a great song. This is a Ramones song. It's simple. It's catchy. It's short. It's punk. But this is, compared to the other punk, true punk albums that we've covered, like The Clash and the Sex Pistols, and I'd say Wire as well. It's a more melodic. It's a type of punk. It's a cleaner. I think it's like a cleaner sounding type of punk. Not as angry. And I think, I don't know who mentioned it. Maybe John, you were talking about it, like, kind of comparing, but it's kind of like the lyrics, like it's more of a goofy kind of teenage, lightheartedness as opposed to the political anger that you heard from like the Clash or the Sex Pistols. So, their vibe is much more about, hey, let's not care, let's just go have fun and sniff glue, and like that. That's their thing. They're not really angry or railing against as much. So this album does, I don't want to say it suffers from, but I will say it suffers a little bit from sameness, because it's the Ramones formula. It's like 2 or 3 chords, they're in, they're out, it's catchy, there might be a key change in there, and it's just got the trademark Joey Ramone voice, it's hard to describe. It's not, I wouldn't say it's deep, but yeah, it does have like kind of a goofy nature to it, like a slacker nature to it, but love the cover, Do You Want to Dance? That was, the Beach Boys song, so I picked up on that right away, really like that. There was Sheena's a Punk Rocker, I knew that song. That's a great chorus, and they got the doo-wop, vocals in the background. They've got some hand claps there, just very catchy, tight stuff. They did Bird, the Surf and Bird song. The Bird is the word. I've never really liked that. That's, to me, is
like a Family Guy every time I hear that.
Right.
Don't you know? The bird is the word.
Yes.
Bird. Yeah.
So I could have probably done without that one. So, what was it? There was a song in here that I think that there was a couple of, Rockaway Beach, I knew, but it's some of it's kind of just sounds similar. They're different. Yeah. They're like, it's like the same song done in a slightly different way. But I can't knock it because it's all really good and it's fun. But yeah, the Ramones have never been really stood out to me as being having a whole lot of variety. It's kind of they have this one kind of thing that they do, and they do it really well. And certainly they were, really one of the only ones doing anything close to this, at the time, or at least on the level that they were doing it. So, and they clearly inspired a lot of other bands that came after them. So, but yeah, like there's harmonizing, there's vocals. It's a lot of classic stuff that I like. So it's a thumbs up for me. It's a very simple, easy listen, and it's great.
Yeah, it's the word that I wrote down. It seems like the Ramones feel quaint nowadays. They're like this nice guy version of Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver or something. So he's like a troublemaker, but you like roll your eyes and you love him anyway. And that's kind of the impression I get from the Ramones. They're like the evolution of, like the Beach Boys. They're like kind of the slightly bad boy version of the Beach Boys. They even cover a Beach Boys song on here, as John mentioned. They have this, they stick to a formula. They make these just kind of fun anthemic songs there. And but they aren't unlike the Beach Boys, they aren't as like musically as talented or complex. And and like Matt said, they kind of have the same song structure and the same chords, so the songs kind of bleed together in your head. However, when they add other things to their songs, it elevates the song. So when they add harmonizing, when they add tambourine, like they do in Sheena, which both of those are, and Rockaway Beach has the harmonizing too, those songs get elevated in my mind to me. The lyrics are akin to the Runaways, I would think. I wrote down some of the Ramona lyrics. Sweet little Ramona, she always wants to come over. I think I'll try and phone her. So you're just, you're rhyming
It does
words.
move to Bona later on, in fairness,
okay. Yeah. So again, they're not reinventing the wheel. Their look is iconic. I'm glad we're going to do the bio on them because I don't really know too much about them, but they are this foundational punk band, but they are not as edgy or as dangerous as the Sex Pistols are. They are not as, I would say, aware or talented as the Clash are. And they are just kind of this homegrown, because they're from New York, right? This homegrown, just, I guess, kind of loser guys, but they're also the bad boy that you want to bring home to mom or make your parents mad about or something like that. So that gets back to my full circle. It's a quaintness to them nowadays, but I can definitely hear the appeal, and I can see back at then what the appeal was in terms of their look and feel.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to come in and be the take here because you guys said, yes, let's start with some basic premises, but I'm going to kind of go away from the main line here. Do the Ramones sound samey often? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's part of the Ramones formula, right? Do the Ramones sort of play the, wasted youth type thing and, basic lyrics? Mm-hmm. That's part of it. Do the Ramones in the modern context as much sort of become as much about their image or the idea of the Ramones and sort of a sound than what they are? Sure. But this is where maybe you guys not having heard the other, Matt said he has the first album. There is different. First of all, this is the best Ramones album by quite a bit. Definitely. This is where the Ramones became I would put Rockaway Beach and Cretin Hop and Sheena is a Punk Rocker and Teenage Lobotomy. That's 4 of the Ramones' 7 best songs. They're fantastic. They're uber hooky in a way that is even more hooky than early Ramones. The production's better here than it is on the first 2 albums. The Ramones, as much as their lyrics are simple, their lyrics are also very subversive in their own way, kind of sneaky subversive because they're simple, but then when you read them, it's there's a little bit more, there's a little bit more going on, especially by this album. The first one you can kind of say maybe not, but you don't write a song why don't we go sniff some glue and stuff, a Teenage Lobotomy, right, without having something to say. I mean, and basically what the Ramones represent is middle-class 1970s ennui, which we've seen that sort of filtered, in an 80s version of it and a 90s version of it and a 2000s, that we almost don't recognize it, but there really wasn't that sort of, angry young man type of rock. I mean, really the only stuff was the Stooges, right, would be in that lane, or the MC5, right? And that's where when we were talking about those bands, right? Yeah. That's that and 50s, 60s Phil Spector. And I think Spector even comes in later and does a Ramones album, which is hilariously on the nose at times. But that's what the Ramones are. It's on amphetamines versions of 50s and 60s standards mixed with sort of the ennui and the anger of MC5 and the Stooges at times, right? And the nihilism. And that's a little bit of what the Ramones speak to a little bit, sort of this nihilistic idea. And it's a very 70s idea. It's the same idea that punk rock and post-punk and all the art rock and all that stuff is coming from, but the Ramones sort of are the all-American version of it. And from that end of things, the Ramones are I hate how sometimes bands get a set narrative and it's like, oh, the Ramones did this one thing and they were sort of Stone Age, but like a lot of people who I care about like them a lot, so they're important that way because and it's like they're better than that, they don't deserve to be just the band that like Bono said's the most important band, and pop punk bands, they're more important than that. And like I can't stress enough, in 1976, which was when the Ramones came out, in 77, like this, we know what came later, like the Clash and
Right.
Bands like that, but no one freaking sounded like the Ramones. Like
Right.
they were like a far and like I can't stress enough how much what the Ramones sounded like created the type of sound that a lot of other genres went into. And Rocket to Russia, this album, is the best version of the Ramones. They never sounded better. It's like their high watermark. Yes, their debut came out of nowhere and was the first time where people were like, holy shit, what's this? But like Rocket to Russia is like when they put it all together, like the speed mixed with the small tempo changes that don't make it sound like the same song 12 times, because even though this is samey, this doesn't sound like the same song 12 times to me. This sounds like variations of a theme. And the covers help too, because it does a different thing. Yes, the sort of the wallish sound of the guitar parts sound the same and Joey Ramone's voice, but if you were to line up Rockaway Beach and like Teenage Lobotomy, there's differences there in terms of what that song sounds like, that it's not as samey as it is. And on the first album, that isn't always the case, right? And certainly the second album had missteps. It's not nearly as sharp as this one or the first one. But yeah, this is where I think they have the best hooks. They have the best clean sound and production. Yeah, this is where it all comes together for them. So, I mean, this is an easy recommend for me. Yeah. There's punk albums that do much, much more than this, and there are punk albums that I will revisit way more than this, and variations of punk. So, yes, you do really, after you hear a certain amount of Ramones, you've got it, right? But, like, it doesn't make it, for me, someone like me, it doesn't make it any more... less exciting, I should say, every once in a while to just plug back in, 10 to 12 songs of the Ramones and listen to them, and it's like happy juice for me, because it's like it's much like Dennis Wilson. It's a vibe, but it's a different vibe, and it's like sort of the vibe of just energy and youth. Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean I really like the Beach Boys cover that they do. Actually, it kind of injects some energy and fun.
I like Surfing Bird too. Matt doesn't, but I do. I like it. So
I mean, they make that version. It's better. I'd rather listen to their version of it than like whatever the regular version is. But overall, it's just I don't think the song that much. But yeah, they the Beach Boys covers. Yeah,
sorry, I homage to Family Guy there. Sorry,
it's
he cuts people off with it, So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but they just take that Beach Boys cover, they speed it up, and they put more guitars on it. And that's one of my favorite. "Do You Want to Dance" is one of my favorite Beach Boys songs that we've covered. It's just from the moment I heard that, it's like, that's a fun song. And I think the Ramones also. I remember like first hearing them when I was a little kid, and like really liking it because it's like it's candy, right? Like it's ear candy. Like it's just so. How do you not like this? If you like any type of rock or pop sensibility, it's a very easy listen. It's not, and so when I first heard them, I was kind of like, oh, this is good. And then I like learned a little bit like, oh, this is one of the first punk bands, and they were kind of like this, some people, I don't know, they, the leather jackets, and maybe there was a little bit of danger there. And I was kind of like, as a young kid, I'm like, ooh, like really? Like I like this, so that means am I cool? Like almost like I get it, like I'm part of the club.
Nah, I don't know about that, Matt. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was 6 at the time, but like okay. It's just, but it just kind of had that aura of like, wow, I can't believe that this was at all like subversive at any time, because it just is so easy to listen to and so catchy, and So no, I like it a lot. It's just that as I was listening to it, I'm like, I don't know what else to say about this. It's just it is what it is. It's very easy listen, and you definitely get it. You don't need to listen to this several times to get it. It's just it hits you right in the face.
And if you were in a punk or ska outfit at any time, as yours truly was in, you have to go through a period where you try to sing like the various people, right? Like try to sing like Joe Strummer, and it's always particularly fun to sing like in the Joey Ramone style, because it's like sort of the enunciation is equal parts like really clear, but also like an odd act, like New York meets like stoned accent, and that's the thing, like it's like they enunciate everything. It's like, we can go where to Rockaway Beach, that like whole, but it's like, where's this accent coming? It's like 50s filtered through like New York, filtered through like stoned, and no one sings like that. And that's the other thing that's always funny, because like if you tell everybody like, do your best, like, Ramones, imitation, like everybody kind of goes into that Joey Ramone voice, like Sheena is a punk rocker, Sheena is, it's like you can always sort of try to imitate it, which is one of the fun things about the Ramones too, like just about everybody I think sang I Want to Be Sedated at some time or another, trying to or Blitzkrieg Bop, two songs that aren't even on this album that are huge songs. So yeah.
And it's crazy too that of all the members, like in this band, where I mean, the different variations of them, they always found a guy named Ramon to join the band.
Yes.
It's like, how
about that? It's almost as if they just chose to name themselves that. So yeah.
John, can you name all of the Ramones?
Well, the original ones are like Joey, Tommy, I think Marky, right? Isn't he in there?
He was. I don't think he was an original one.
That's right. He came later. He came from the Voidoids or whatever, like the Tommy and the Voidoids or whatever is the name of that band he was from.
Yeah.
Was there? God. So there. I said, Joey.
You said Joey, Tommy.
Tommy left after this one, I know, and I think he was replaced by Marky, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. There's Dee Dee.
Dee Dee, that's right. Yeah, I should have known that. Yeah.
Then there's Richie, Elvis, and CJ.
Yeah, those I don't know as well. Yeah, I should have got Dee Dee. Yeah, but Elvis, I like that. Elvis
Ramone,
pretty fantastically. Elvis Ramone. It's like such a homage to that '50s, rock that they love, which is always interesting to me how much the Ramones love like '50s rock too. So
that's. Hey, of all those different, if you like singing, John, who was the hardest to sing for you? What was the trickiest punk vocals to do?
Hardest punk. It's surprisingly hard to do Joe Strummer. Like when you try to sing, like if you try to sing, like think of like singing, it's easier to sing as Mick Jones than it is as Joe Strummer. He's actually oddly hard to sing. Like try to sing like, Rock the Casbah, you know what I mean? And it's not as easy as you think. Most weren't as hard as you think. You know what I mean? Like if you give me a little bit of time, like I previewed it there and I was about a 6 of 10, but I could get up to about a 9 of 10 Ramones imitation if you gave me time. Like just to warm up my voice. It's pretty easy to sing like them. So yeah, I might go Joe Strummer might be it's not easy to sing like the Damned, another punk band that was a formative one.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to sing like the Buzzcocks, it's easy to sing like the later ones like, Green Day and all the, the second wave punk bands and stuff like that. So
Right.
Mm-hmm. Harder to sing like some of the ska bands, which we'll be covering pretty soon. Like the Specials and the Selector and the English Beat, those are not as easy. So